Hey everybody, I'm sorry about this lighting, but I'm gonna make it really quick. I just parked in the parking garage at Target and I'm gonna walk just a few blocks over to Elizabeth Park. Today we are doing our first event to celebrate the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence's 250th anniversary. This is the event being held at the Trail of History, which I've already done a video on, all the statues on the Trail of History. We're meeting at the Captain James Jack Horse and going to kick off a party this morning, May the 10th, with some celebrations. I'm really excited to take you along with me. Let's go. All right, we're gonna start out with some coffee from this place. So I got a Battle of the Bees, but I had to modify it a little bit because I can't do lattes and I don't drink the fake milks. So this is an Americano and with raw honey, as far as I know, and then I had a half shot put in of lavender, which is gonna have some sugar in it, but I don't really care. It's called Battle of the Bees. That is my favorite Revolutionary War battle fought in Mecklenburg County out of 6. It is my favorite. Let's give this a try. The lavender smells strong. The lavender tastes strong. I like that. It's almost that is good. What is that? It's almost like gingery.
It's like real lavender.
Like, yeah, like it tastes like it's got herb in it, not essential oil or a flavoring. Medicinal. It's medicinal, yeah. It does have a slight kind of medicinal taste, but it's really, really, really good.
Oh yeah.
I like it. I'll give it 8.5 out of 10. Booth is set up to honor the Trail of History, which we are currently on. We're very close to the Lunas McGlowan statue, and then we're right at the Captain Jack statue. But you can see here, if you watch that video that I did, I think that was back in February. Here are 10 of the 11 statues, and we're going to be getting some more, and I'm excited for the new ones. I think we have 2 more coming soon. Philadelphia water ice. There's the Parks, Mecklenburg County Parks and Rec booth. Look at these rainbow slinkies. I had one when I was a kid. My brother had the metal one, but I had the rainbow one. And the rainbow one was so much prettier, but didn't work near as good. Here we go. Visions of Freedom Beyond Bondage. Emancipation Proclamation. It's good that they've included this too. Nice. Very nice touch. Since we're talking about independence and freedom, we shouldn't forget that Even when we declared freedom in Mecklenburg County, we weren't all free. This is for the Historic Landmarks Commission. This is who we've done our cemetery cleanups with. The pins, look at the pins.
So it's
They have the beehive on them. Got my Battle of the Bees pin. I'm so happy. This booth is for Partners for Parks that help do a lot of park cleanup that's outside of the city budget. And I would really love to do some volunteering with that. That would be so fun. And here's the Keep Charlotte Beautiful. I got some stickers for my water bottle here.
This is the teeny tiniest sampling of what we have. We kind of selected some of our best hits, but we have a lot of different collections, like especially documenting colonial Mecklenburg.
Yeah.
Like, none of what it looks like now, but we also have some newer collections. Trying to keep, you know, the city's whole history in mind, thinking about how it's changed in the past.
I've definitely utilized your site for some maps. Yeah, recently. Your genealogy.
Yeah.
give you one.
Oh, that's so nice.
Thank you.
That's your pedigree chart. You also need
Your
this
pedigree chart.
Yep.
One. Yeah, and you also need this one, the family group. You need to make copies of all of them. Because like you put you and your husband here, and your children here, and all the information, all the vital statistics associated with it.
Yeah.
And then you do that for all your brothers and sisters, your mother and father,
Yeah.
your grandparents, all the way down the line as far as you can go.
Thank
This-
you.
this-
This booth is about the Torrance House, which is a historic house here I need to go take a tour of.
And learn all about North Carolina history. Hello, how are you doing, my friends?
What's that?
Yeah, so this is, I recently found this when I was on WikiTree. This is Hugh Torrance and Isabella Torrance's marriage certificate. So this is probably the only document that Isabella would have signed. And that's her signature right there. The fact that she could sign her name actually is a testament to that she must have been educated. Right. Not only did they not have to sign many things, but the fact that she could sign her name in cursive
That's her?
definitely meant that. Yep. So that's Hugh's signature there, and then that's Isabella's signature there.
Is that his wife? Who was?
Yes.
Okay.
So he married the widow Isabella Care Falls, the captain James Galbraith Falls. Nope, that was the son's name. Galbraith Falls.
Okay.
Captain Galbraith. He died in the Battle of Rainsworth Mill, and Hugh promised his captain that he would take care of his widow.
And he did.
He did. Little joke that they tell on our guided living history tours is that we don't think the captain told Hugh that he had 8 children.
Right.
Because
We
when he
didn't
married
promise.
the widow, yes, when he married the widow, he inherited 8 stepchildren, and she did bring 5 of the children to the Hugh Torrance house with her. The 5 youngest, which were all girls. I believe the 2 oldest boys had already been married off, and one of them was about to be married. And they only had one biological son, the 2 of them, James Torrance, James G. Torrance Galbraith, who took on Isabella's husband's name as his middle name. And he was the one who opened the Hugh Torrance house and store, which probably was more just known as the Torrance Mercantile, we would suspect. And he was an incredible record keeper, the Torrances. These are actual documents from the store records. They kept every record from every mercantile inventory purchase order, and they also kept records of their store credits. So they would have used bartering mostly. They did have currency then, but all the states had their own currency. They still had the British coin. Some of the counties even had their own currency. So they mostly would have used bartering. And we do a really fun bartering activity with the children on our school tour. They absolutely love the bartering activity that we do.
That's a copy. Everything else in here is original. So this is a 1787 arrest warrant, 1774 signed by Adam Alexander, 1765 signed by Henry Downs, and those are signers with the, you can see the examples.
Those are all originals?
And then we have some Meck celebration coins. So that's a 1875 silver and 1875 bronze, 1975 silvers and then bronze. And there's another 1875, another 1875. That's a 1892 Charlotte when they were here doing this exact same thing. And that's a 1906.
The one with the flag? That one's my favorite.
I know. I love that we're all nerding out about this together. And all I'm doing is going to put your fingerprints on that glass.
How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
And then you got the chef.
So this is actually the original Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. Just kidding, of course.
Let me,
Yeah?
what do we think?
So,
Let me go over the symbolism. Good, good. I'm just, I'm excited to be here helping to tell the story, spread the word.
Me too. Look at that.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And this has got my little store.
Perfect.
You can.
Oh, you're awesome. Great.
All right. So now, when you do the QR code's kind of small.
Yeah.
So when you do the QR code, make sure you're in the plenty of light.
Okay.
One day I'm going to regret
like in
not
the
buying
daylight
this,
or
but I'm
something.
living out of a backpack.
Yeah, that'll send you to my store.
I can't. I just can't.
Don't believe any of that.
Meck Deck 250. Are those stickers? And that one is Meck Deck with Captain James Jack.
Yeah, don't go past the yeah, they're good, they're good.
Let me show you. This was drawn by the son of one of the women in the DAR. Isn't that not amazing that a patriot with the Battle of the Bees? And it comes in glasses and notepads and t-shirts. There's so much awesome merch.
Are these ones we can wear on our DAR?
It's another book. It's another book. This one is about James Jack.
It's a lot of work, but if you put into it on your fiction, it takes the real history of the Scots-Irish Presbyterian settlers, and it basically says what would have happened if James Jack, on his way to Philadelphia, did in fact encounter those soldiers, spies, and thieves and loyalists. So it's just a classic hero's journey and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hope it becomes a movie.
What is this? There's more.
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Second, I'll be right with you.
Yeah.
So you did any Buford did that? So and then during the fight.
I myself, Colonel Bratton's regiment. Huh, I can't tell you how good this park smells. They've got a fire going over there. I feel like there's barbecue somewhere in the air. It's amazing. The Charlotte Museum of History. They're making tricorn hats.
Want to make one? Yeah, let's take a hat.
Detour for a minute. We need to check out these beautiful purple flowers and this little bitty bee. This is the booth for the President James K. Polk Historic Site, which, if you remember, we have got to go visit that place. It is where Ezra Alexander is buried, we think, but does not have a headstone. So we'll have to go check that place out sometime. I tried to go there from our YouTube channel, but it was on a day that the museum was closed. We should go back and check it out. Hand-dyed yarn, wow. Look at those fingerless gloves. Yeah.
And that's what that is, and I've got a pot of that going over there too.
That is so pretty. She's dyeing the yarn. This is where she's dyeing it. That's what I smelled. I thought she was cooking something over here. It smells great though. I smell barbecue. Look at that water going. Ooh, I got smoke in my eyes. So this is what we're looking at Elizabeth Park. Right there's Lunas McGlowan, and he's got a band. We're gonna go check that out here in a minute. And then up there is all the vendors. Down here we've got some living history going on, some tool bench, workbench, like woodworking, hand dyeing yarn, the Museum of History, the James K. Polk. It's so fun. It is such a pretty day. I'm a little bit chilly, but it's a really pretty day.
Unfortunately, I'm just getting started on this. Kendall is my reenacting sister, and so she's convinced me to start playing this. But I'm just, I know this much.
All I know about John McNitt Alexander is it was his plantation, probably, where the Meck deck was written, and it was his home that burned down with the Meck deck in it, if it existed.
Yes, that's what I've heard also. So,
Isn't that unfortunate?
and he's one of the signers. You have the same knowledge base that I do. Except I probably added. You probably didn't know he's a tailor.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Hezekiah has the Alexander house, and they have a big setup on the second floor for weaving. So that was his brother, though, that was actually into making clothes, I guess.
So the house is. Which house is it?
Hezekiah Alexander.
But where is the house still standing?
Yeah.
So where is it?
It's here in Charlotte.
It's in Charlotte. Okay.
Yeah, it was made of stone, and most people's houses back then were made of logs or wood. So
the cabin is up at Latta Plantation.
yeah,
So,
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, well, Latta's transforming right now.
So what's all this? What is this?
This is a pair of actually 18th century scissors, shears. And that's my sewing box.
Oh, I thought they were part of the box.
No, the box is actually, it's a candle box that you would have kept your candles in next to the fireplace. I use it for all my sewing pieces and parts because it's easy to carry around. That's her pinball.
Yeah.
So she's a mantua maker and I'm a tailor.
My grandma had one just like this.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen one of these in many years.
There you go. This is a period iron from the same thing. So you would have, it had little iron slugs that looked like little pie wedges that you would put over the fire, and then you could raise it up and stick one in. The iron would be hot, so that way I didn't get ashes and soot on my clothing. And I still, even when I ironed, I still would have a cloth between me and the fabric, so I could sprinkle water on that fabric and basically get the same effect as a steam iron that we do today. And then when it cooled off, I could take it out, get another one, put it back in. And it's actually, this is kind of where the
Can I hold it?
Yeah, this is why it's called pressing, because it's pretty heavy. Yeah.
Like what? 8 pounds, maybe? 5 pounds?
Yeah, 5-6 pounds. Yeah, you're probably right. What else can we talk about? So there's all kinds of things. So this is flax. It's part of a plant. The flax actually grew about this tall. That's the little flax seeds that you see at the grocery store would be in these little balls. And the fibers for making linen is this here. It's actually on the outside of the stem.
Yeah.
And so this would be grown in the field. It's a year-long process. Once it was grown, you could easily pull it up. You would lay it in the field and basically let the dew and the rain get onto it, and it would kind of rot. It would little black spots, and that was breaking down all of these fibers. That would be after you pulled the seeds off. And then once it was ready to go, then you would take this and you would put it through a break, which was a manual process of just taking it, chopping it up to break it up, and then you would put it through cones that look like little nails sticking up in order to get the fiber out. So this is the fiber that comes out of that plant after you've processed it.
That is so soft.
And you've heard of flaxen ladies? Flaxen hair? It's
exactly, that looks like a wig.
They did make wigs out of this in the 18th century, but it was only for the very poor people that couldn't afford hair. Most wigs were made out of horse hair, human hair, animal hair. The cheaper you can tell would go down. And then the poor folks would be wearing
that must be itchy.
Flax. It actually wouldn't be itchy, but as soon as it rained, you'd be a living mess. So I'm a tailor. The biggest difference between tailors and what you might call the mantua makers who made the gowns is that tailors worked off of body measurements and did flat patterns. And so I would take a piece of tape and my scissors, and I could measure, say, the gentleman there, and I would cut notches. So I might measure down his back and cut a notch for, that's where his waist is. There's another one down here for how long the coat, your shoulders, the length of your arm, around the neck. And so with all these markings on the tape, then I have what I need to make a pattern for you. And so I would give this to my finisher or my cutter because, sir, you're not going to, I'm not going to sell you the fabric. You're going to bring me the fabric that you would like for your own suit. And so unlike today, where the labor's expensive and you think the fabric's cheap, back then the fabric was very expensive, because you can imagine for linen, you had to go through this year-long process. And to make 1 square yard of linen for a shirt, it would take a woman about 15 hours at a spinning wheel just to make the thread. And so it was kind of a cottage industry somewhat. In fact, you would grow the linen, you would process it in your spare time. The ladies would spin the thread. So this is just the raw flax. Once it's spun, that's when it's called linen. And I've got a spool in here. It's not on a period. I think I've got a spool in here. I just sewed with it. There should be a spool in here.
I see.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now it's nice and tight. And then they would sell that basically to the weavers, and then the weavers would make the cloth. And so the idea of homespun, like we see in the movies in Hollywood, really didn't happen. People were not making their own clothes. If you were rich, you were poor, young, old, free, even enslaved, you were most likely having your clothes made by someone else. Why, sir? You obviously are a man of means. You probably are a merchant. You can make far more money being a merchant or an accountant than working in the field and raising and making your own clothing. So therefore, you're going to do that, and you're going to buy your clothes. And fabric was the number one import in the colonies in the 1700s. It probably made up about 70% of what was coming over on the ship. There's not a place on the globe that you could put your finger that we were not buying fabric. And then fabric would come into like New York, Philadelphia, Wilmington, Charleston, and then it would be brought up in here. So fabric in this Charlottetown, even in 1775, the folks here probably had access to the same types of fabric that you could buy in New York or Philadelphia. Now, the merchants probably weren't bringing in lots of the upper end fabric because, again, this is a smaller market, but they still had access to it. So that fabric would come up from probably the Cape Fear River all the way to Fayetteville. And then there was a plank road that actually went from Fayetteville, a wooden road, to Salem, up where Winston-Salem is today. And then you could take the wagon road down here. So it would be a long about method to do that.
Very cool.
So I'm making flat patterns to make a coat for this gentleman here. This is my master pattern that I would lay on the fabric and then chalk it and then adjust it according to the measurements on the tape. The young lady over here is doing it different because men, we're relatively shaped similar as you go from guy to guy, but as we know, ladies come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes, so it's a much more difficult process to have a standard pattern. And so you, young lady, would become the dress form. So she's actually going to take cloth, drape it on your body, and then mark it and pin it so that you have a gown that fits exactly you. She would do the same thing for you. So you have clothes that fit. If you look at the jacket that she's wearing, it's very well fitted, and that's because it was made just for her. There really was no such thing as off-the-rack clothing, with one exception. It was a shirt.
I didn't even know that all this already.
Shirts were pretty much your underwear, your shirt, and your nightshirt. And you can see it's kind of one size fits all. You know, if you were really big, you could probably get a thing. But feel how soft this is. This is all linen. It's kind of like wearing pajamas.
Yeah, that is so nice.
And people would own more than one. The myth, again, is that you have one set of clothes. If you only had one set of clothes, laundry day could be quite an embarrassing affair. And so most people, even the poor, would probably have a week's worth of shirts like this. And they were made out of linen. You would change them maybe every other day or so. But the reason the linen was great is not only was it soft and comfortable, it was very durable because of these long fibers that I was telling you about. So it wicks the moisture away from you, and it takes a beating because laundry in the 18th century, you soaked it in a solution to get the organic stains and stuff out, then you boiled it with lye soap, and then you rinsed it, and they actually beat it with a paddle to get it clean. And so they were very into clean, and so you see a lot of white shirts and things like that for the undergarments. Even King George himself would have worn a linen shirt very similar to this. It might have been of a little finer thread, but it would still be like this. So, and this shirt, like I said, it would have taken 18 hours to weave the fabric for the front, for the back. So this is a couple of weeks worth of spinning just to make the fabric. And so how many stitches do you think it took to make this? This is all handmade. How many stitches to make this shirt?
Do you know?
I don't know.
Thousands probably, right?
Keep going.
Millions?
No, not a million.
Okay, well I said thousands.
You're doing the extreme for sure.
What comes after thousands? I don't know.
It's in between those two.
Oh, what is it? Oh my.
20,000 stitches.
Oh wow.
But
Tens of thousands.
But if you look at the detail, I did not make this. A friend of mine made this shirt. But if you start looking at the details,
Yes.
Hand sewn.
this is all hand sewn.
Very even.
Even the buttons on the shirt, the collar are hand sewn.
Wow.
And so the ones at the neck were made out of thread because you've got the neck stocks and so forth, and hard buttons would be uncomfortable. But at the end of the sleeves, they didn't have buttons like we've got today. And again, you can see all the little stitches. There's just 2 buttonholes, and we would wear sleeve links, which is kind of the predecessor to cuff links, to hold them together. And then when it's time for laundry, I can take them out. I don't have to worry about it as long as I don't lose the...
Beating your buttons.
Lose them, yeah. Lose my button.
Okay guys, I'm sorry about the lighting again, but here's my outro for this video. I had a really great time hanging out at the Trail of History event to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. I think I filmed every single booth. I really had a good time having so many conversations with other people who are active in the community and really love history. I just kind of dork out over history. I think my favorite thing that I did see though was the booth that had the coins from other anniversaries and all the signatures of the signers of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. That was humbling and fantastic. I was kind of wowed by that. I took a lot of photos, but the guy who has been collecting, I'm sorry that I forgot his name, but the guy who has been putting that collection together for a lot of years had so many cool stories. That was so cool. That was so cool to see actual real signatures of these men. And so I just had a great time today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I will see you guys at the very next Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence celebration that I can find.